Hello everyone, my name is Albert Gourier and welcome to another installment of Slammin Synapses. If you're viewing me through YouTube, you'll see a subscribe button up here. Click on that, keep up to date with the latest ongoings here. If you want to drop me a comment, you'll see a box below. If you're viewing me through a phone or otherwise, there's ways of doing that too. This segment is going to be submitted for possible inclusion to the PW Insider family of websites. That's pwinsider.com, pwinsiderelite.com, and pwinsiderextra, no e.com. You can also check them out on Facebook at PW Insider or on Twitter at pwinsider.com. Like I said before, Elite site is a great site to go to. Lots of great audio, lots of great video. By all means, check them out. Also, a lot of great interviews to be had as well. So, like I said, check them out. This week, I'm going to be going into some reader feedback, as well as the first member of my Unsung Heroes Hall of Fame. Explain that in just a moment. As many of you may realize from viewing my previous segments, I did a segment about Barry Windham joining the Horsemen in terms of the storyline, in terms of what went behind it. Well, little did I know that a month after making that, guess who's being nominated into the WWE Hall of Fame? That being they're focusing on the team of Barry Windham, Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, and Arn Anderson. Now, Ole Anderson could have had a chance, but he still has issues with WWF going way back, and could have inducted other ones, but it's this core group that really made it primarily what it is today, and I just find it interesting that a month ago I was doing an article about it, and a month later they're being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Did I have something to do with that? Nah. Anyhow, I did get some feedback from that segment. I do want to read them to you here. Like I said, I welcome your comments. I'm more than happy to read them. Wish I had actual names to go along with these, but they are just screen names. So, first one is from a Jack Square. He said about the segment, "You made perfect sense about the titles, but here's something really quick, especially on WWE TV. Let's take the emphasis off of the commentators, and like Michael Cole, for instance, I mentioned that in previous segments too, and put it back where it belongs, on the wrestlers, period." Now, I mentioned before that it's like, if you don't focus on the wrestlers and you don't give the wrestlers their time, I mean, why should people get invested in your program? You listen to sports, and people like Harry Carey, John Madden, lots of people talk about the people that's on the field, and they get them over more than they're getting themselves over. So yeah, I do agree with them that they do need to put the focus of commentating on the wrestlers. I've done this on previous segments. I may do it a little expanded, just to give you an idea what I'm talking about on a later segment, but I have gone over this, so stay tuned. Next comments were from a BSG Depot. You are right, titles should matter as they once did. It's funny back in the day that there were more titles, TV title, US tag titles, and those titles mean more than the world tag titles and the US IC titles do now. If you're familiar with that segment, if you want to view it first and then come back, or if you don't have time, basically I mentioned how titles weren't important at one time. It just seems like the titles nowadays are just like a secondary thought. But when you have shows when like the US tag title was presented in a main event field, that was saying a lot for that time. Continuing on here, they are trying to make them more important, but it's not where it needs to be. Oh, and you mentioned Brodus Clay after his debut yesterday, and I mentioned this on my Slammin Synapses on my Facebook page. I kind of liked Brodus Clay's debut. I'd like to see how much they could get out of this before it becomes stagnant. But I think that he's definitely shown a lot more personality in this than he has previously. And I think if they could find ways of freshening it up on a regular basis, I think they've come across a bona fide hit. Now, there are a lot of people that are complaining, that are moaning, and that are whining. It's like, oh my god, they took this guy who was a monster and just put a gimmick on him. Well, worked for Rikishi. It worked for PN News. I kind of like Rikishi, and I did like PN News, so ask me why I like the segment, now you know. But yeah, as long as they find a way to freshen them up and find new ways of making the character a little bit more innovative, I could see this character going on for quite a while. I think the Brodus Clay, I'm looking forward to the next few weeks to see where they go. If it grows old after a while and can become stagnant, then I could see them getting rid of it. But yeah, I like to just see what the next few weeks bring before I make any full commentating on it, before I make any full opinion on it. But as for now, I like it. Going on, I changed my mind and I couldn't keep waiting, for him. He continues, "It's funny, this was just an interesting chapter in wrestling before, but with the announcement that the 4 Horsemen will join the WWE Hall of Fame, and they said the greatest incarnation was Flair, Windham, Tully, and Arn, can't say I disagree. This is now very relevant. Good stuff." Well, I do want to thank you guys for dropping me a comment there. If you ever want to do so, like I said, feel free to do so. I'm more than happy to read them. But yeah, I think he's saying that it's kind of interesting that I will pick that as a topic to go into, considering the fact that now they're being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, highly coincidental. I could hope I did something with regards to that, but I'm not going to let ego get in the way of it. So, Hall of Fame's coming up. In addition to the Horsemen being inducted, and well, there's a couple of other people that are yet to be inducted, but we'll wait till it plays out on TV. But Edge inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Now there are those that are complaining that it's too soon, that he just left the business, that he's no longer there. WWE has never really established any rules onto the Hall of Fame in terms of how long you have to be out, in terms of whether you have to be active or not. They never really discussed that. I mean, you look at people like Dusty Rhodes and JR and Jerry Lawler, and they're still around. So there's never barely been any time frame in terms of when you could be put into the Hall of Fame, considering the fact that there are people still in the Federation and are still working that are in their Hall of Fame. Edge has done a lot for this business in terms of getting it over, in terms of promoting professional wrestling very well, carrying himself very well. You never really hear too much negative when it comes to Edge. Never hear any stories that, oh wow, he's doing drugs, or he's doing some bad stuff in some apartment someplace, or he's putting WWE in a bad light by doing things at hotels or things. Like, any story that you hear about Edge is mostly positive. I mean, the only negatives that you hear about Edge is his injuries and about his retirement for being injured. But yeah, you never hear any story about, oh, Edge has put a black eye on our business. No, he pretty much added a lot to the business as it stands. So to me, putting Edge in the Hall of Fame is definitely a good thing. I mean, they put people like Drew Carey in it, and people may have grown at that time, but you never hear them say, oh my God, why did that, and bitch and complain as they do now. But yeah, for Edge to be in the Hall of Fame, I would definitely good addition to that. Can't wait to see who else they are going to induct. Like I said, there are 2 names that have been mentioned, but like I said, watch it on TV because I don't want to spoil it for you if you don't know already. So by all means, like I said, stay tuned, keep watch, etc., etc. Let's see what else. Anything else I could go into? No. Thought about doing this later in the month, but I figured what better way to start off than now. This is going to be my Unsung Heroes Hall of Fame. Now, I may do this once a month or twice a month, depending on my mood, but it's going to be to recognize people for, if they're not in a Hall of Fame by now, they should be, based on their contributions to the sport, to professional wrestling as a whole. Let me find something. Give me just a moment here. I want to pull up a note real quick because it's really relevant to what I'm going to say next. So I'm almost there. Almost there. Looks like I'm gonna have to look this up a bit. So talk amongst yourselves for a moment while I find this. Almost there. Well, in any case, I'm not sure how much you're aware of this guy because he's never been in WWE, but he's definitely made a made a impact on the sport. And no, he's not the first member of the Hall of Fame, but he just might one day, given some consideration. But there was a guy named by the name of Rashi Brown, Skull Crusher Rashi Brown, very, very powerful wrestler, teamed with Keith Walker to hold the NWA World Tag Team Champions for a very long time. And he did an interview with, who did he do an interview with? Or he made a statement on his Facebook page. And it goes something like this. I have done more than many will, and I am proud of what I've done. To some, because hold on a sec. I've done more than many will, and I'm proud of what I've done. To some, because you weren't a star in the WWE, they feel you did nothing. Anyone inside the sport knows differently. Makes a valid point. There are people that have never been in WWE that have made such a contribution, or in this case, did appear in the WWE, but he was very, very grossly misused. Grossly misused to the point to where him just wasn't him anymore. He was a man who's held the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He's been in Ring of Honor. He's held their titles many times. He's held titles across the world. To me, if you tell me who the most underrated actor of all time is, I would tell you Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell, star of the Evil Dead series, I believe, Army of Darkness, Burn Notice, made lots of appearances in Spider-Man, so many other places. To me, I consider him to be very underrated because he does a lot. He has a very wide cast of characters going on in his head that he could pull from, and he's very underrated in terms of his work ethic, that I wish that he was given more the respect that he deserved. To me, there is a wrestler who I tend to put along the lines of a Bruce Campbell. Guy who does a lot of work, that could show you his fun side, that could show you his funny side, that could show you his serious side, that could show you his technical side, 10 ways to Sunday. To me, this man has done more for this sport, and a lot of it, 99% of it, was outside the auspices of the WWE. The first inductee into the Unsung Heroes Hall of Fame is none other than Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana by far is one of the best workers today. One of the best athletes out there. I mean, I've seen him wrestle in lots of independent shows. I've met the man, I've said hello to him. And I was in that much of a presence with him that I wonder why he's not utilized more. I mean, he's never been in TNA, never been utilized in TNA, I should say. If he has, it was probably briefly. When he was utilized in WWE as Scotty Goldman, that he was grossly misused to the fact that I don't think they ever got what he was. And that's sad, because there's a talent with all the people that they release in that federation, all the people that they let go, and the people that stay. The fact that they let go someone like Colt Cabana, Scotty Goldman, whatever other name he's utilizing on the circuit, Matt Classic from Wrestling Society X days. This is an athlete who pretty much puts wrestling in the best possible light possible, because like Edge, you never hear of a bad incident with Colt Cabana. You might hear some stories on the independent circuits, but you would never hear anything bad mentioned about Colt Cabana. And the fact that he's not at a higher level than he is now, in terms of name recognition, in terms of respect, in terms of notoriety, just surprises me. Like I said, like Rashi Brown said, that it's like ask around. You mention the name Colt Cabana to people. If you mention to someone that watches WWE, they may not know who the hell you're talking about because they're so stuck in that WWE bubble. But you ask around to other people that have known the sport, that have watched it for a while, that has actually branched beyond the WWE circle, that's gone beyond TNA, that's gone into things like Ring of Honor, AAW, Full Impact Wrestling. I could name drop independent wrestling federations forever and a day. And as a matter of fact, hold on a sec. because I did a promotion for them a while ago. And I'm going to replug them because it's just the kind of person I am. And like I say, if you want them to give me a show to plug, if you want me to push a federation, drop me a comment. Without independent wrestling, other wrestling just can't exist. But yeah, Colt Cabana is even appearing at Progress Wrestling. Check out their website, progresswrestling.com. But yeah, he's appearing with them March 25th, and that's in the UK. That's overseas. He gets around that much to where other federations, other countries, other places want to book him. So, but yeah, Colt Cabana is by far one of the best underrated athletes of professional wrestling people of all time. Like I said, it's like you hear people mention Hulk Hogan, you hear people mention Ric Flair, you hear people mention John Cena, CM Punk, things of that nature. I think it's time where people mention the name of Colt Cabana with the esteem that they do with others, because he deserves it. More than anything, he deserves it. From the bottom of my heart, he definitely deserves it. And that's what puts him in the what gives him the slot as the first member to the Unsung Heroes Hall of Fame. In future installments, like I said, I will bring other inductees in it. Some names you may know of. Some names you may have heard of as a footnote, but their contribution to the sport will not be diminished or discounted. So, like I say, if you want to drop me a comment, feel free to do so. You can email me at agurye@yahoo.com. You see a graphic up here shortly for that. You'll catch me on Facebook at my name. I also have a Facebook group on there as well, Slammin Synapses. Feel free to check it out. You could also follow me on Twitter at Slammin Synapses as well. So there's many ways you could come across me, many ways you could get in contact with me, and many ways you could keep up with me. For those of you who have so far, I do want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because without you guys, I'm just a guy talking to a webcam, and that requires a lot of therapy if that's all I'm doing. But the fact that there are those of you out there that have taken the time out to view me, thank you. If you know any friends that you may want to share this with, do so. If you're in wrestling and you want to share this with your colleagues, feel free to do so. I have lots of archives that you could pull from, that you could view, get my thoughts on life, on professional wrestling, the world in general. I have a YouTube channel, so check those out. Be more than happy. As long as I have one of you viewing me, that's all that matters. So for Slammin Synapses, this is Albert Guerrier saying so long from ringside. Have a good night, everybody. Till next time, goodbye.